Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We are going to give a couple of minutes for everyone, the remainder of our guests to join, and we'll start today's conversation right after that. I want everyone to type in where they're coming from. I'm actually tuning in from New York on this lovely Friday evening. So thank you so much for spending some time with all us today. Awesome. It looks like people are still trickling in. We've got California, Chicago, Atlanta as well. Hi, everyone. Oh, wow. From New Jersey, but right now in Germany. That is awesome. Texas tuning in. So great. Let's go ahead and get started. I want to thank everyone for being here today and just setting a quick intention for today's community office hours. So the purpose of our community office hours is just to have a safe space on how you're feeling in your job search and to overall have insightful conversations to inspire and elevate yourself in the process. Latinas in Tech is here to help you. Here are some questions that we have collected just to reflect on during your job search. And I want to go ahead and just take a minute to speak about what we do. So we do professional development, recruiting, and representation as well. And just to kind of go over Latinas in Tech and becoming a member as a whole, if you're interested in joining the 22,000 plus community of women and allies from all across the country, internationally, you can scan the QR code. If we can go to that slide, Juanita, and join our Latinas in Tech network today. So please be sure to check out all of the opportunities we have. And I also want to take a minute to speak on our job board. So use our Latinas in Tech job board to find your next role. We have an internal board for our Latinas in Tech members that allows our members to search for any roles that the companies that we work with have. And just in general, some more information on the Latinas in Tech membership. In order to find your next role, you can complete your profile and it'll make it easier for companies to reach out to you. You're able to message other members, recruiters, and companies directly on the LIT job board. And you can also use the job board to target companies that are actively searching for talent. So another reason to use your membership is to register to our mentorship program, to connect with others in the industry, and to connect with chapters and other community members based on your location. So this is just another friendly reminder to be sure to complete your member profile so you can go ahead and get noticed by recruiters. And during this session, just to kind of set another intention on what you'll kind of get clarity on is personal branding and how to craft authentic personal brands to attract your ideal role and clients. So we want to go ahead and give our guest speaker a minute to introduce themselves. And yeah, I'll let you take the floor.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Ramatu Kandakai. I'm so excited for this partnership and to just talk to you guys about personal branding. But I realize you guys have no idea who I am. So I'm just going to give a quick intro into who I am and how I'm a good person that can tell you guys about personal branding. So first and foremost, I'm a huge marketing nerd and I have over 10 years of experience working in the corporate space. I've worked 3 years with my business now as a brand strategy consultant. I have my MBA from Johns Hopkins, and I've been able to pivot into multiple industries in the B2B space and the B2C space. And I really coined that because of my personal brand. I've been able to work in tech, consulting, even worked at a nonprofit, and also most recently at CPG. And so, as I said, I'm a huge marketing nerd. So I love to share, what's going on in the marketing world from a brand strategy perspective and marketing. And I've also been able to speak at podcasts and like conferences and even on webinars like this one because of my personal brand. So this is all just to say I'm a huge testament to like what you can do when you understand your personal brand and when you're strategic with it. So I'm just giving that as an example. And also in 2020, during the pandemic, I became a business owner after monetizing my personal brand, my Tutu cents. And so I started a business called Tutu Brand Strategies, which is a personal branding agency where I educate and empower and mentor a lot of people on, really owning their personal brands like a boss. And then lastly, I am a believer. So I'm really intentional about my relationship with God. That's something that I really value. And so I strive to build that into my mission and my vision and my business as well. So this is just a snapshot of who I am. So you guys can see that I'm a huge marketing nerd. I love personal branding, and I'm really excited to just share all the tips I can share with you guys today. So as I mentioned, I started my business in 2020, and I started my business by accident. I was not trying to be an entrepreneur. I was looking for a job. So we all know LinkedIn is like the place to go to look for an opportunity. And I was like, okay, I need to learn how to use this LinkedIn thing because a lot of people were saying recruiters were reaching out to them for job opportunities and no recruiters reaching out to me. So I was like, okay, let me learn LinkedIn. And so I started getting on the platform, learning the algorithm. And I noticed that, if I start just sharing that I know I'm a marketing expert, I could get the attention of recruiters. So I just started, posting about, marketing trends, posting about, how to build your brand in order to, really market yourself. And through that, I was able to, start getting DMs for different like contract opportunities, different speaking opportunities, and so forth. And through that, I was like, okay, let me legitimize this and start an LLC. So I always say that I started my business by accident. It's basically because I monetized my personal brand. So through this, I learned the power of personal branding. I was like, okay, if you really are showing you're an expert, you can get a lot of opportunities. Why aren't more people doing this? So that's what I started and decided to put my business into place. And so now I educate people that are multi-passionate, folks that are really trying to understand how do I pivot, how do I use this personal brand in order to unlock endless opportunities. So I hope that gives clarity to who I am and why I love personal branding and why I'm here today. Next slide. So what is personal branding? I've been saying this word, it's a huge buzzword, but I feel like no one really explains what it is clearly. So I'm going to try. But basically, when you think about your personal brand, it is basically what makes you unique as an individual. So think about your values, the qualities that you have, your strengths, your weaknesses, and those characteristics. If you made different columns and you wrote that all out, that would identify you as an individual, and that blueprint that you created would be different from someone else's. No one has the same values, characteristics, strengths. When you couple that all together, that's what sets you apart. And so understanding what that is very important for you to say, okay, this is what makes up my personal brand. So personal branding is that feeling that people get when you walk into a room or when someone says your name. It's an emotionally invoked thing. So how do you be strategic, and how can you be strategic to get people to have a positive feeling when someone says your name or you walk into a room so that you can attract the right opportunities that you want? So that's basically what personal branding is. It's basically knowing who you are and being strategic to attract the right opportunities by amplifying those things that differentiate you and make you unique. So if you do this properly, or you're doing this, you probably all doing this, you don't even know it, you'll be able to, get different career opportunities. You'll be able to really unlock some really cool and fun business ventures that you probably had no idea you could do. And lastly, you can influence so many other people and become a trusted advisor in your own space as a thought leader or even an influencer. So it's really important for everyone to say, basically everyone has their own personal brand. It's really important for you to be strategic with it so that you can maximize it to your advantage. So this slide it's a lot going on here, but the biggest thing that I want to say is that your personal brand, when people say, oh, I need to build my brand, this and that, people start to think, okay, I need to create this facade, this fake thing. I need to start, branding myself. I need to, think about like change the way I dress, change the way I talk, change the way I act. That is not what it means to be intentional with your personal brand. It's about amplifying you and being authentic, being your authentic true self. So remember what I said in the first slide about, understanding your values, understanding your personality, understanding, your skill sets, understanding those things, and then making sure that you're honing in on it and constantly looking at it to drive the right opportunities for you that align with those things. So I basically have these 4 categories, your values, your passions, your skills, and your personality. And I'm going to walk you through what that looks like from identifying it for yourself as a personal, to understand your personal brand, then using it to be strategic to get what you want to attract and making sure that it aligns with those things. And then lastly, being strategic in how you communicate it and amplify it to continue to attract those things. So when we look at our values, the first thing you really want to ask yourself is like, what's important to you? What do you value? What do you believe in? So, and really think about it. Your values should be your moral compass, things that are like your non-negotiables, that you're like, this is what I believe in. I have a very strong stance on these things. With your passion, I always like to say, because people sometimes are like, I don't know what I'm passionate about. Think about things that you do for fun, that things that you can talk about for hours on end. Or like what I like to say is like, if someone was like, hey, you got to do a TED talk and you had no time to prepare, what could you do that you're so passionate about you could just talk about? And it could be anything. Let's say you're a huge anime fan, or like you are, you look at celebrity gossip blogs, or you like to hike, or like anything like that. That's what you're really passionate about. A lot of people, when they think about their personal brand, or they think about getting opportunities, a lot of people X out those passions because they don't think it's something that's important or will help you, but it does set you apart, and you'd be surprised. Skills. I feel like skills is the thing that everyone knows and we focus on, especially in the tech space. So, what are you basically, how do you describe yourself in your skill sets? Are you analytical and are you creative? But the biggest thing that's a huge takeaway that a lot of people get imposter syndrome on is, if I'm not an expert on this, this is not a skill set. Think about something that you're better than the average person, something that you're 2 steps ahead is what I like to say, or a skill set that you can evolve and add on. That's something that you really want to couple into your skills. And then lastly, your personality. Are you an introvert? Are you an ambivert? I'm an ambivert. Are you extroverted? Are you super observant? Are you humorous? All these things are really important to know with your personality, because you're going to need to know this so that you can use this in order to set yourself apart and amplify it for your personal brand. So those are the 4 categories, and that's how you really define your personal brand. So then the next thing you want to think about is, okay, what do I want to attract? This is really important when you're thinking about envisioning your perfect job, ideal client, creating that picture and that image and making sure that it aligns with your personal brand. So this is very important in these 4 pillars. So I say this because, when we're job seeking, sometimes we constantly apply to everything and anything. But if you know your personal brand and you're really strategic to what you should be attracting and how it aligns with you, you'll see that these things will naturally come to you and you'll naturally attract it. So with your values, now that let's say you know what your core values are, how does that align with companies that have the same, mission statement, the same vision, the same values? That's how you can start carving out your ideal role, or carving out your ideal clientele, and so forth. For your passions, if you're really passionate about, something, what does that look like in an industry? What does that look like for a size of a company? Is it something that's your passion aligned in the B2B space or B2C? Is it a company that's corporate or entrepreneurial? You'll start to see like where you're passionate about will align with or butt heads with, that certain ideal company or client. Your skill sets. So this is really important when you're looking at job descriptions or, a project description or SOW. Do you have the skill sets for this job? Does your skill sets align? Are your skill sets evolving to match this role or this opportunity? So that's something to really think about too. And then lastly, your personality. Company culture is really important when you're thinking about what do you want to attract. When you start putting your personality out there, let's say you're super creative and you just come into a room and you exude this creativity, or you're super analytical and you exude that, those, when you start looking at companies or putting yourself in those spaces, that's what you'll start to attract. And then, so that's kind of like what you want to attract. So when you put that all together, you start to get this blueprint of your ideal company, your ideal client. This also helps if, let's say you're in the creative space, and for brand partnerships too. So this all makes sense when I talk about how to communicate it, but it's really important for you to really understand who you are. Second, what do you want to attract? And then lastly, how do you communicate it? So values, what does that look like? So so think about, the causes that you support and your community involvement. So let's say, you're part of, community outreach, and that's something that you really value. You could be in a space where, because you're doing that, someone sees you doing that, you meet someone, and next thing you know, they work for a company, or you make a partnership or something through that. So like understanding that, when you are basically understanding that community involvement is important and it amplifies your personal branding, can use it to your advantage. Your passion. So, think about the conferences that you should attend. There's always a ton of conferences every year. So if you are strategic with coming up with the game plan every year of conferences to attend, and you're there and like, I'm really passionate about this, and you start networking with people, that's going to help you to attract a lot of opportunities too. Organizations and clubs and communities like Latinas in Tech. This is a perfect example of, you're passionate about diversity in the tech space. You're passionate and proud to be a Latina. That's going to help you to make mutual connections and attract opportunities and differentiate yourself from someone that's just applying on a standard job board. And then people you follow, it's really important, the influencers you follow, thought leaders that you follow, being in that space and being in those conversations can really set you apart when you are having conversations with people, when you're on social media and so forth. It's in your skill set. So then thinking about, how do I obtain certifications and amplify that? How do I create a portfolio and a project, that really shows, my skill sets in a very unique way? And how can I take past employment that I've done in order to really show my skill sets and set me apart? And then lastly, your personality. So this is where content comes into play. So, creating blog posts, creating articles, if you're on social media, being active. And so, podcasts and stuff. And so, oh, that's a good question. My next slide is going to actually answer that. So then, podcasts and posts and blogs. And the lastly, engagement. So what I like to tell people is, when you think about content, when people think about, oh, I have to, start being active on social media, a lot of people really think they have to create the content. You can react to content. You can react by engaging, you can like, you can comment, you can repurpose, you can repost, you can share. And all those things count as you creating content. You creating it, you curating it, you're reacting to it. A lot of people that sometimes I follow, they're not creating content. They're reposting things, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that person was interested in that. Or they're commenting on something, and their comments are really insightful. So I always like to tell people, like, if you're not someone that is naturally skillful, or it's not part of your personality to produce content, know that you can react to it. There's a lot of different ways. So I got a question in the chat that says, what if, for example, your passion is hiking, but you want to start a career in tech? So this is interesting because this is so crazy. So I created a persona, and I know there might be some marketers on the line, I don't know, but a persona is basically a fictional character that you create in order to really understand your target audience per se. But I wanted to show like what this looks like in what this looks like in real time. And so I created a persona of someone called Anna Perez to just show you what this looks like from the first step I said, which is who you are. And it's ironic because, Anna likes to hike and she's into tech. So I love that came up. So first, okay, let's talk about Anna's values. So Anna she values continuous growth and professional development. She's really committed to giving back to community and really representing underrepresented groups. And she strongly believes in diversity and inclusion in the tech industry. Those are things that she values, right? So that's something that, those are things that she takes to heart. Those are her morals. Those are things that she really values. So let's get into her passions. She enjoys coding and she loves exploring new technologies in her free time. So that's her hobby, right? She's an avid hiker and an outdoor enthusiast, right? Okay, so she's like, you know what? I have an active lifestyle. I love to do this. And then lastly, she's passionate about promoting, STEM education with young. I think so. Yeah. So and then so her skills. So this is where a lot of we know what our skills are. So she is really skilled in project management, agile methodologies, and tech program execution. She's efficient in programming languages like Python and JavaScript. And then she's an excellent problem solver, and she has great data analytics skills. And then her personality. She's an ambivert with a knack for building strong professional relationships. I'm an ambivert, so I can relate to her. And she's adaptable, creative, and a natural problem solver. So when we look at this, this is a little snapshot of Anna Perez's personal brand. It shows her values, it shows her passions, it shows her skills, and it gives a little bit of her personality, right? So next we go to the what do you want to attract? So what does that look like? How does that correlate? So values. So now she's looking for a company, a tech company in Chicago that really prioritizes DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, because that's what she really values. She's looking for a company that aligns with a shared commitment for community involvement and social responsibility, because so that's going to allow her to cross companies out. Because, when you start, when you have that open to work banner on, everything and anything comes to you. So this is a good way for you to stay on course to get something that you really aligns with you. And also it's a great way when you're interviewing, your passion will show and your values will show in a way that's natural and organic, where you don't have to memorize because it's true to you. So her passion. So she's looking for a company that aims, works in the tech industry, is a mid-sized company, and has roles that encourage STEM. So this is something that really aligns with her passion for hiking and outdoors and so forth. So that's something that was a question to ask too. She's also interested in companies that are involved in green tech and sustainability projects. So that's how she tied her passion to what she's looking for and what she's trying to attract, right? Third, her skill set. So she's looking for a program management roles in the tech industry that have product execution, data-driven decision-making, and innovation, because that ties to the skill sets that she already has. So she has to find, roles that align with it that she can do. And then lastly, projects that are related to AI, machine learning, and data analytics. So this is something that's really important, because she'll be able to use those projects when she's talking, giving her stories, when she's interviewing, or when this can help her to really amplify her portfolio and amplify this and set herself apart where someone else might not have even thought of it. And then lastly, personality. So she wants to join a company that's collaborative, that's diverse and inclusive, because she's an ambivert. She's an ambivert, that's a problem solver. And so this company, the personality really needs to match her. And the company that is really adaptable and has creative problem solving within the core of their employees and so forth. So this is how you think about and craft out what you want to attract based on your personal brand. So this is a way for you to say, okay, what do I want? What are my skill sets? What, carve that out. And this is how you start making your target list, but it's true and authentic to you. So next we're going to go to how to communicate this. So I told you she understands who she is. She knows what she wants to attract. But what does this look like? Like, we got to put it into action. I'm a very actionable person, hence why I made this persona for you guys. So one of the things I'm really big on is like, okay, when someone says, tell me about yourself, or you're looking to brand yourself, it's always good to think about this overarching category or why that kind of explains all this. So for Anna, I was like, she's like an eco-techie, fearless problem solver. So this is something she could use on her LinkedIn. This is something that she can do when she's giving pitches, when she's talking to someone. It summarizes her values, summarizes what she wants to attract, and it just couples it all together. So how do you communicate this? So with Anna, in terms of being actionable, she can participate in local diversity and inclusion initiatives in Chicago in the tech community. So this is how she can meet like-minded individuals. She'll find out about opportunities that haven't been posted yet. She can start building a rapport and start building those relationships before she's applying to jobs, to start just having this solid network. She can engage in volunteering and organizations to promote STEM education with other young Latinas. This helps set her apart, because if someone interviews her and they're like, what do you do in your free time or something, this is something that shows that she's passionate about it, she's volunteering, and it's going to set her apart. This is also a way for her to learn about the industry, learn about trends in a very authentic way as well. Her passion. So what can she do to amplify her passion? So not only with her values, but with her passion, she can follow and engage with influencers in the tech industry that are really huge advocates in sustainability and on social media. She can share her hiking adventures and adventures, but talk about it in a way that intersects technology and environment so that it shows that she's someone that is adventurous, she's a problem solver, but she's also someone that understands how her passion ties in with the tech space and in the innovation space too. And she can do this on a blog, whether it's writing, whether it's sharing articles that she's curating or something. For her skill sets, as I mentioned, portfolios, projects are really important. So showcasing her agile certifications, any relevant tech tools on LinkedIn, highlighting her portfolio with past projects and success stories with clients, and tech related achievements is something that she can do to really show her skill sets in a very different way. And then lastly, her personality. So as she's creating this content on, whether it's blogs, articles, anything like that, just showing how she's a problem solver. I think it's different if blogs are always a part of your point of view. So showing how you would solve this problem or identifying a problem, something where she's asking inquisitive questions, if she's engaging, that's something that can really show that she's a problem solver. She's really diving into that space. Including stories and images of her hiking and how it shows her courage and allows her to problem solve and overcome fears. It's something that really gives her personality where someone might say, oh, wow, like this person is fearless. I would love to have someone like this on my team. Stories of her, climb, basically doing, let's say, hiking is something that I think for me helps with mental, stability, and it's something that gives you clarity. So any way that she can tie, her personality, why she values hiking into her problem solving, into her enjoyment of STEM. If she's hiking, but the place that she's hiking, she's showing, her awe in the landscape and the environment. That's how she ties in her passions and could really attract people in that space too. And then also engaging in content with thought leaders and fellow tech professionals too. And I think it's really important to say this because, if she understands her passion, let's say she's a huge hiker and there's a hiking club or something. Let's say she does a hiking club and then she meets some tech person at the hiking club and next they're hiring. So this is just a way for you to when you really are true to yourself and you know who you are and you know what you want to attract and then you know how to articulate and communicate it. A lot of this stuff comes in very unconventional ways. It's not just you posting on job boards. It's really just you posting, you really engaging, and then people just start messaging you. That's what happened to me, and I've seen it. I've seen it with so many other people too. I will answer this question on the Q&A. I'll definitely answer that. Next slide. Okay. So, so how do you leverage LinkedIn? Okay, so I started my business because of LinkedIn. So I'm always be like team LinkedIn. So how do you leverage LinkedIn? So I'm gonna stay with Anna on this. Okay, so so LinkedIn, if you're not on LinkedIn, it's really important for you to be on LinkedIn because just Microsoft owns LinkedIn. So when you Google yourself, it's the first thing that comes up. So if you're not on LinkedIn or you feel like your LinkedIn profile is out of date, please, please, please get it together. This is a great reminder, a great way for you to start. So it's really important for you to have a profile that showcases your authentic brand. So everything I showed you guys before with your values, your passions, your skill sets, your personality, that's something that you want to make sure that you're showing in different ways on LinkedIn, whether it's through it will be through your profile, but it'll also be through who you follow, who you engage with, and the content you have on there. So that's one thing. The second thing is profile optimization. So once you know what you want to attract, once let's say you want to you know who you are, you want to track B2B, B2C, whatever, use those keywords. Anything you write on LinkedIn is a keyword that can be searchable. So making sure that in your about section, let's say if you want to track STEM opportunities, if you are Latina and you want to put that in your about section too, and you're really passionate about DEI, all those things you want in your about section, you want it in your, the jobs that you've had, you want to make sure everything is optimized. There are a ton of people too that do LinkedIn profiles and can help you optimize it as well. But just know that it's something that's really important for you to attract these opportunities. Fields. So when you go on LinkedIn and you go to the edit section where you would write your tagline and you would put your industry, people don't realize that's really important. So when you go and edit your industry, that's going to attract recruiters to you. So let's say that you worked in, let's say you're pivoting or you want to pivot. Let's say you don't work in tech. Let's say you're a teacher, but let's say, so you don't have your job yet in tech, but let's say you're pushing out content, you're following the right thought leaders. In the field section on LinkedIn, you would want to change your industry to tech. You'd want to say, and then in your about section, you explain you're an aspiring teacher that's moving into tech, you'd explain your story. I say this because that's how I've been able to pivot into other industries. So for instance, I worked at a nonprofit, right? And let's say, so in my LinkedIn profile, because that was my current job, my industry is going to say nonprofit, but I'm trying to get out of nonprofit, right? So on the fields tab, I'm going to toggle and put the next industry I want to work in, which would be tech. So then I would put that on there, and then I will start to get messages from recruiters that are recruiting from tech industries and not nonprofit. So it's very, very important for you to understand that LinkedIn acts as a web page. And so your keywords are very important, but those fields are for taxonomy processes. So think about like Amazon, when you're going to search for something and you're clicking on the fields, it's really important for you to make sure you update your fields to the industry that you want to be in, not just the one that you are in. So yes. And then your banner. So I created this banner based on, Anna's profile that I told you guys about. And so this is just a banner. Having a banner is really important. The gray banner is, please, if I see a gray banner, I don't even want to connect with you. I'm like, ew, is this person even on LinkedIn? No. So make a banner. You can do it on Canva. And so for this one, I just created it where it says, take risks, savor the journey, and drive innovation. It's like, okay, tech, DEI, and STEM. Wow. Anna sent me a request. That's really captivating to me. And let's just say that's Anna on that mountaintop too. But that's a great conversation starter. Let's say someone's like, oh, wow, I love your banner. Wow. Oh, wow, you hike. You could say, yeah, that's me in my banner. So that's another way for you to just, be different and be, not so boring. The really important part about your personal brand, I think the biggest part is your personality. So like, if you get 10 people sending you, a recruiter gets 10 people, not hundreds of people, sending them, hey, I want to talk to you about this role. Hey, I want to talk to you about this role. And then someone sees this, it's like, oh, cool. You know what? Let me talk to Anna. So yeah. Next slide. Yes, that was yes. So the industry is like the biggest thing. And sorry, let me just piggyback off of that. I mentioned it so the fields are really important too for location. So that's another trick that I did. So I work in marketing, and when I lived in DC, I was trying to get more marketing roles. And there was always more marketing roles in New York. New York is more of a marketing hub, right? So when I lived in DC, I changed that I lived in New York. So I changed that I lived in New York on my location. And I got reached out to for an opportunity to work at EY for a consulting company, and the role was remote. So that's how I got my job at EY, because I put that I lived in New York on LinkedIn. So though, not underestimate those fields. Once you start toggling and playing around with the industry, with the location, you get so many different opportunities. It's wild. I'm testing something out with one of my friends now where I have her putting United States, where she doesn't even have so to broaden her horizon. But just saying that there are so many tricks of that field that you'd be so surprised when you change it. You're going to get completely different recruiters reaching out to you. Also, with that being said too, when you use LinkedIn, if you have LinkedIn Premium, you're able to see, there's a page where you're able to scroll down and see what titles. It'll say people reach out to you with these titles. So that's another hack I'll probably have to just DM me on LinkedIn for that hack, but that's a really big hack. All right, so leveraging LinkedIn. So we're still on Anna, right? Because this is the example we're using. So this is a little about me section that I created based on Anna. So something that, once you understand what your values, your passions, your skills, and your target client is, you want to include that all in this about me section and a call to action. So I have this here. I'll read it Do I want to read this? I'll read it. Hello, I'm Ana Perez, a passionate Latina tech professional committed to fostering innovation. My career journey has taken me from coding enthusiast to a tech leader with a strong background in project management, agile methodologies, and tech program execution. Rooted in my Latinx heritage, my values center on diversity, inclusion, and the community support. I'm seeking my next role in tech, which one that values creativity, data-driven decision-making, inclusivity, particularly in the realms of AI, machine learning, and data analytics. Lastly, a call to action. So let's connect. Beyond my career, I'm devoted to coding, exploring new technologies, and promoting STEM education, especially among young Latinas. I'm excited to connect with like-minded individuals who share my passion for driving innovation and fostering diversity in tech industry. Let's collaborate for a brighter tech future together. I use ChatGPT for this, so but I just want to give you guys an example of what this will look like and how easy it is too. So if you use my framework and you like, do your values, your passions, whatever, just plug it into ChatGPT and say, hey, make a LinkedIn profile for me, So that's just a way to just get you to start really being strategic with your personal brand, being able to start articulating it, and then seeing the opportunities that are really true to you. So yeah, I love this. Go ahead, use it. So yeah, but it's just like it's it's something to just use. And that was my goal. I was like, I want to make sure that the persona that I pick will resonate with you guys. So I'm glad that someone in the chat said the description sounds like them. Awesome. So your experience. So moving on, this is the about section. So your experience should include your keywords, your project links, your skills, but everything else, make sure that it's just optimized, SEO friendly, and so forth, and just go through everything. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm all about, so we want to know how to get noticed, right? So these are some tips and tricks that I have that have helped me to get noticed by recruiters. I will say we're living in some weird times right now. So you got to do all of these things, okay? So obviously follow thought leaders and engage with their content before sending them an invite. So let's say you really, because right now you have to kind of it's a long game, right? So let's say you're following someone that their company is always hiring, or they're super influential, and you just want to have them in your network because it's going to lead to something, or you just want to learn from them. I have found that engaging with their content for a while, commenting, and then sending them an invite, mentioning that I love your content, I'm really passionate about this, I would love to I would love to learn more from you and have you in my network. Let's connect and chat. That has helped, and even referencing a previous post, saying like, I've been following you for a while. I especially liked your post on this, Then it's like, okay, this person's legit. Like I've seen them follow me, and even so now with LinkedIn, if someone sends you a connection request, it'll show if they follow you. So I think that's really important. And it'll say how long they've been following you for too. So that's why I say like, follow someone's content before, because I know for me, if someone sent me a message, I love your content, and it's like, they just started following you October, and it's October 1st. I'm like, really? But if it's like, I love your content, I've been following you for a while, and then I look and it's like, they've been following me since like for a couple of months. I'm like, okay, and then it's something legit in the message, that really helps. Like I had someone that reached out to me that found my YouTube channel, and they were like, I really like this. And I was just like, okay, this person did a lot of research on me, and I instantly accepted them. And so that's really important to include in the private invite. Also, most people don't know. You see how on Mallory prizes, this is another fake person. Sorry, I couldn't. So, yeah. So I saw that they recently changed that without premium, you can't message without a connection. So that's why it's really important for you to. So for instance, for Latinas in tech, right? If you're in this community, so like this is how you gotta make the system work for you. So go with your passion. Let's say, you're in a community, Latinas in tech. Let's say if you're a marketer, there's an organization called Hue. So learn about different communities. Go on those groups. Like, let's say you're in these communities. Let's say you're on these LinkedIn groups. You can post, hey, you can post in the LinkedIn group a message, or post in the Slack to connect with people. So you got to use these back channels to get people to connect with you. So thank you for mentioning that. But I would say like, if you can't, oh, sorry, I just misread that. You mean the personal invite? Oh, the personal invite. Yeah. No, always use a personal invite. Sorry, I don't use InMail. Like, I messaged a CEO and got responses by my personal invites. So it's really important to do your research. So what I usually do is I will say, like, a lot of times, like, I will use that, I'll research them and find a podcast or something they've spoken on, right? I will look at, I'll use a commonality of why I want to connect with them. So I'll say something like, hey, so and so, your you talking about XY really resonated me because I too am struggling with this. I love that you give back to, I love that you said you help underrepresented communities, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to look for advice in the career. I love, just being very specific, but showing that you did your research. To do generic messages don't work if you're just generic, if you're trying to, but if you really are passionate, you follow this person, it will work for you to message them. And also in different communities. So let's say you go on their page, right? For instance, like a lot of C-suiters, a lot of CEOs, a lot of people will be in different communities. Like She Runs It, I know is really big in New York, even Latinas in tech. So if you can find out if they're part of a community that you can get into for free or into, that's how you can do it too. So then if you send them a message, say, hey, like I really resonated with this. I'm also part of this community. I would love to connect with you, or you connect with them within the community before even LinkedIn. So I hope that answers that question. I think I kind of went through everything. So follow thought leaders, check the info tabs, send personal invites, join similar groups. Oh, check their activity on LinkedIn. So this is the biggest thing. If you go on someone's LinkedIn, you can always look at their activity. And if you see it's been like they haven't had any recent activity in the last 90 days, they're not going to see your message. You want to look at people that are like, they have activity, you see them commenting on stuff, because that means they're checking their DMs and so forth. So that's what I would say too, is like, don't get discouraged if you don't hear from someone, because they're probably not active on LinkedIn too, or they're probably getting a bunch of messages. But I will say really have I rarely have had a lot of pending invites. But it's because I research people. Someone I reached out to was like a super high up at a company, and I saw he was like an entrepreneur. He lived in Chicago. He like pivoted from the corporate space to the entrepreneurial space. Was in Chicago. So I looked at his experience, career trajectory. I kind of was like, oh, I use that to say I love how you move from the corporate space to entrepreneurial. I'm doing the same thing. I would love to connect. So it's all about just researching people. I know this sounds like we're all in the tech space, we're all smart. Like, laziness will show, extra mile will show. And so that's what I'll say. And also reaching out to people that look like you does help. And and personal blogs. So this is another cool one. So I remember, we're all multi-passionate in some way. So if you research someone will have, a lot of people will have blogs or content on Medium or some other platform. And sometimes they'll have their email address on there. Sometimes they'll have a Facebook community that they created or something. So like, that's another way to think outside the box. If you see someone that has an Etsy business or something, like, that's another way to reach out to someone and not just use LinkedIn too. I'll just say that's another way to get creative as well. Or if you see them that they're going to be talking on something because they're a thought leader, go to their session, say something, and then be like, oh, yeah. And like, oh, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn, sending a DM now, so that's ways to do it too, as well. These are all things I've done that have made me really successful. It's just understanding who I am, but then also like just treating people like human beings and really researching them has been really crucial. Next slide, I think. Next slide. Can't remember how many slides I think. Yep. Okay, perfect. Oh, I'm right on time. Okay. So I wanted to leave time for Q&A. I'm gonna go slide up to just see one of the questions.
Ramatu, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I've been keeping an eye out on chat, so I can actually just read you those questions so you can get to spilling all your gems, because a lot of people are really excited in the chat. I want to go ahead, Luce, if you're inclined to come off mute to just ask a bit more, that's okay. If not, I'm just gonna read your question. In this member had said, in my case, my passion is to do flowers and fruits arrangements. And how do you connect that with tech careers?
Oh, I guess also I always like to tell people, what do you like about flowers and fruits arrangements? And it might just be that that it makes you super creative, and that's your creative side. You could just really like fruits and really like flowers and really like to create, but you might be surprised. Some might be that you like taking different things and putting them together, like fruits, there's so many different fruits you can choose from. There's so many different flowers you can choose from. And then that's something that you use in your tech career when you're putting together, building dashboards, or you're creating a story. So it might just be that you're someone that likes to build and put things together and use your hands, and you found that you do it from an analytical standpoint within your when you're building dashboards in Power BI. But it's nice to turn the screen off and do it from a tangible standpoint within the fruits and bouquets. Or it might be that you're just like, you know what, I really enjoy creating things to make people bring joy into people's lives. So it's really, I think it's about finding out why you like the thing that you like to do, and then it might tie to why you like the tech thing that you do.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for the question, Luz. We're going to move on to the next question. It's from Jacqueline. I struggle with personal branding during one-on-one interviews because of my shyness. What advice might you have to overcome this challenge?
Yes. So another thing I would say is being shy sometimes can come from, is it just that you're an introvert, or do you think it comes from uncertainty and you being shy with projecting something, like, I guess I don't want to say imposter syndrome, but it could be that. Because for me, I struggle a lot too with interviewing when it's like, tell me about yourself. I get the sweaty palms, my voice starts cracking. And I was like, why do I struggle so much with that question? And it's because I'm like, who am I? Oh my God, I have identity crisis, like that type of thing. So it was like, and then everything else, like, give me a technical interview. I know, but for some reason, when it was like, tell me about yourself. So then for me, it took me first making it my own, being like, okay, who am I? What do I like? So I'm like, I always started with, I'm a marketing nerd, So like so think about like yourself, think about your values, think about like that, those four things I said, and write out what you would say, right? What makes you happy, what brings you joy. Because I think that you being able to um be happy and have those positive feelings about yourself will exude in your interview. And even so, the other thing I say is lean into being shy. If you're like, tell me about yourself. I'm like, well, to be honest, I'm a really shy and quiet person, so that's something that has really, allowed me to just, sometimes just dive into numbers. I know it sounds weird, but so that's kind of how you own into that insecurity, you own into when the person's like, oh, she's so shy, but oh, she's good at numbers. So she's gonna be a high level individual contributor. So that's kind of what I'll say is own it. Don't think, okay, I'm shy, I need to be extroverted to get this job. No, you're shy, but you're good at numbers, you're good at this, you're good at that. So amplify those skill sets, but own that you are this shy person. And that's how that goes into your journey, into your story, to say, oh, I'm a shy person. So I really found, numbers, it might sound nerdy, but like numbers to be my friend growing up, and then you just, but that's memorable. That's gonna make someone remember you, like, man. And then that person might be like, I was shy too. So that's how you break the ice. You own what you think might be your insecurity, or something that's super weird and quirky. But that's what I would say is just like, it's okay to be shy. But it's good for you to know why you're shy and how to use that to your advantage to get, your roles.
I love that. It definitely ties into the intentionality and authenticity you brought within your presentation. So thank you so much.
Of course.
And thank you for the question, Jacqueline. So the next one is, how a stay-at-home mom of 3, how can she brand herself? How can she have a portfolio, and how can she have industry experience as well?
Okay, so my sister's well, she's not a single mom, but she is a mother of 3. And so I would say, think about what you want to do next. I think that motherhood is there's so many opportunities there. So if you, let's say, I guess I would need to know if you think you want to go back into the corporate space, or you want to own your brand and monetize in different ways, because there's a huge opportunity for mothers teaching mothers. If you are just authentic and showing your creating resources. So let's say you're like, you know what? I'm really good at organizing things. Because you're mother of 3 and you're single and you clearly know how to manage your time, right? So how do you create, thinking about products and services you could sell and package that, like, being like the organized mom that, and you create a product that you sell and then you promote it. So like I know if you're a single mom of 3, you're good at managing time, you're good at managing finances, you're super creative, and you're probably one of the best negotiators out there. So if you were to get back into the workforce, I would highlight those skill sets into how it could benefit a company. Single mothers are the best at like getting stuff done within tight time frames because there's no other time you're going to get it done. You know that you're super hyper organized. So you mentioned that with whatever job you're going into with project management skills, etc. You get skill sets that align with that to tie into that storytelling. You're really good at negotiating because you know how hard it is to negotiate with a 3-year-old to go to bed or to eat their vegetables or something. So use that if you're going to be a salesperson or something. And honestly, I would be bold and I would write that as my job description when I'm applying to jobs. What's your role? I am a, stay-at-home mom. These are the things I do: negotiation, organization, da 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 da. And then think of KPIs for it. Write case studies on it. I know if I saw someone do that, I'd be like, wow, this mom is this is moms. This is someone that knows how to problem solve and knows how to show it. I think there's a lot of I think that that's a way to get creative with it that a lot of people don't think about. But if you think about what you want to attract, so again, think about your skills from being a single mom, and then think about what you want to attract and make sure that they align, but there's a way to do it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say, yeah, like if I was on LinkedIn, I would probably list like my profession as that and list all the skill sets, list some, certifications that match with it or that could amplify it, and then see what you attract or see what happens.
Amazing. It looks like we have a sentiment next, as well as a question. I love your enthusiasm and wealth of expertise. So there's some gratitude there in the chat, along with the question. So how do you bring branding to an interview?
How do you bring branding? Are you asking me? Or are you asking, I guess, because branding is like a skill set that you can do. So I guess, can I get more like of that question? What is it stemming from?
Yeah, Elizabeth, if you'd like to pop in the chat or take yourself on mute to expand on your question, that'd be awesome.
Okay, I'm not sure if it's gonna be too loud. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you really well.
Okay, awesome. There's a lot of music going on in the cafe here. But I understand like branding is kind of the preparation to find an interview, right? To get an interview and really present yourself in a certain way. How do you kind of bring that to an interview? What I meant to ask is how do you kind of like how are you consistent? I guess I don't know exactly what the question would be in that sense that, if you have like, I love to hike, I love to do this, I love to do that, would branding be like making sure that you talk about your hiking experience and how that connects to your role, even when like, they don't ask you a question about that? How do you bring that?
Yes. So this is this is the, it comes up if you the tell me about yourself, it can come up there, it come in that space where I like to. So for me, I when they say, for instance, I have a gap, and I haven't worked almost a year. So it's like, what have you been doing since this time? So I think it'll come up in the interview question: name a time you faced a challenge. Name what so it's gonna come up either if you weave it into your story, because it does, and I think that's the best way to start it, is to weave it into your story if you're tying it into tell me about yourself. If you're mentioning, I'm a really a huge, I'm really I'm a problem solver, and it shows in my day to day, not just in my 9 to 5, but even in my hobbies. I've been in, that's how you tie it in. So you bring it into your story, or it comes out in when they ask you questions. Tell me about a time when you faced a challenge. Tell me about a time. So it can come out in those conversations. It doesn't always come out in an interview though, but it can come out with the networking. So that's why I was saying, like, it's good to just have it and know that it's there, because being a hiker might get you that interview. That's what I mean. So, but I would say in the actual framework of interviewing, it might come up if you have it in your tell me about yourself. and explaining it and you bring that in there. Or it can come up when it's like, tell me about a time you faced a challenge, or tell me about a time where you failed. And then you can use it in that sense, like, oh, I had this 20-mile hike and blah, blah, blah. But then you tie it back to the lessons you learned and how it implemented you, made you a strong person in your way that you think, that way that you challenge yourself. And these are all strategies that I like to like put out there, but personal branding is something that's always evolving. So it's great to test it out. Like for me saying I was a marketing nerd, I tried that out on an Amazon interview and the recruiter laughed. So I was like, oh, we keeping that. So yeah. So that's it.
I love that. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. That totally answered my question, and you're just a wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much.
Thank you. No problem.
All right. So I'm going to do a couple more in a quick time check. We have about 4 more minutes, but we do have some quick other questions. One of them is going back to engaging by reposting. So besides engaging by reposting, liking, and commenting content on LinkedIn, what kind of content and posts should you be making yourself?
Oh, okay. So I always say focus on the low-hanging fruit. So if you're someone that likes to do video, create video. If you're someone that likes to write, you can write different posts. You can write articles. You can do podcasts and repurpose that. You can do, I'm not really too familiar with the technical stuff, but let's say you have a video of yourself trying to problem solve something, you can do that, but it's all about what comes natural to you. Like I personally use LinkedIn because I'm like, I could write a post, I like to write, versus like being on video and creating it, like, you know, I'm getting better though. But I would say it depends on what comes natural to you. But just start out with that. Just get started is what I like to tell people.
I think this question, the next one actually goes into this as well with posting. And it's not only just posting on LinkedIn, but the question is, what could we include in our portfolio if we're pivoting? Any guides or suggestions if we don't have a tech background, what we can post in our portfolio?
Yes. So it depends on this. I always say there's 3 ways to pivot: industry, skill sets, and then specific certifications. Those are the 3 ways. And then I think 4th is like networking, but those are the 3 ways to pivot. So one, showing you're passionate about the tech industry. For instance, if you're trying to pivot into a company that's doing a lot in the AI space, let's say, I think Zapier, they do like automation and so forth. So showing your passion and your knowledge in that space. But let's just say you know resources and you're like the resource person. Hey, AI's, you know, here are some AI tools. And you could just be the person that curates AI lists. You know, you could be a curator and you're just creating lists. And so people are coming to you because they don't know these lists. For instance, I follow people that just post like grants for women, or like, you know, I know someone that posts like certifications you can get in tech. But just first, you know, thinking about that first is like, what can you show that shows you're enthusiastic about the industry? So thinking about it, is it STEM? Is it this or is it that? And then curating in that space if you can't create original content. In terms of your portfolio, I would say thinking about getting certifications and then amplifying like the journey. Let's say, you know, I think like getting there is fun. Like saying, you know, day 1 of my 30-day getting into tech, you know, or 30 days getting this certification, and you're going into like how fun it is, how confusing it is, how this and that, and people are buying into it and they're like, oh, I want to see you really get that certification. That's a really cool way to rally people up, get engagement, asking people questions. Like that's another thing too. So those are different like creative ways for you to start building that community, start engaging, but getting the certification, but the journey to get it is another thing.
Amazing. It looks like we're at time. I want to go to the next slide to give you a minute to share where everyone can follow your journey and learn some more about you. All the sentiments in the chat were, there were just so many gems, and you're a wealth of knowledge and a bright energy. So thank you so much on behalf of Latinas in Tech of being here. So I'd like to just give you the mic one more time to do a nice outro of yourself.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. So you can follow me on LinkedIn, Ramatu Kandakai. I have the best SEO. And if for some reason you misspell my name, my 22 cents is my hashtag on LinkedIn, as well as on Instagram. So all one word is play on words, my 22 cents, because Tutu is a family nickname. I will be starting a mailing list to just create a blog to share tips with you guys like this and more as I grow in my personal brand and to help you guys. So if you want to join my mailing list, just scan the code, fill out the form, and I'll have you on my list so that I can continue to engage with you guys too. But follow me on LinkedIn, connect with me, and mention that you attended this session so that I remember how we met. But yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Thank you. And thank you everyone again for being here, and have a happy Friday and a wonderful weekend.
Ooh, thank you guys.